Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Coach Holt. Coach, hey, it's another day. It is a huge game. Game 3, it seems like we said, as the playoffs go on, each game that you play becomes a bigger game than the one before. But today, Game 3s are always massively huge.
Big game, biggest game of the year, as we always say. As you mentioned on the 7-game series, Game 3 is big, especially first game on the road for the Dodgers in this series. And, since it's 1-1, you're going on the road, the worst case, you don't want the worst to happen, but you may not ever go home again. So, like you mentioned, you guarantee yourself of at least the worst going back to LA if you get this game. But, coming out tonight is huge, coming off the loss the other day. And I like the Dodgers' chance, and I feel good about it. I mean, Buehler has been good his last 2 starts. I hope that he's still got it with him. And did a little bit of tweaking the lineup, well, not too much, but I think they're ready to go. I mean, they've been ready to go all year for whatever 180 games. So let's go.
Kind of interesting because Severino, Buehler, very similar situations in the sense they both have a whole lot of playoff experience. Not exactly sure. I don't think either side could quite honestly be exactly sure what you're going to get out of him. Severino has struggled down the stretch, and he's thrown kind of good the last couple outings. That reminds you very much of Walker Buehler. Yep. There's basically no history between the Dodgers. I know Mookie Betts has a little bit of history. Kevin Kiermaier, but I don't know how significant that is. But Mookie Betts definitely has the most amount of experience against Severino, but not a whole lot of experience. Walker Buehler threw against the Mets last year, but there's not really a whole lot of history to chew on. So, there's just a lot of unknown variables coming into tonight.
It's so much different than the last series we went through, Case, with
it is.
With the Padres in the same division. You play those cats. Seems like all the time, like the Red Sox and Yankees. Seems like the guys play every weekend, and you have all that, all that history with each other, and good and bad, and all those sort of things. Yeah, this one's kind of a, there's just not a lot of bad that goes with this. We know the Mets are playing great. They've been playing great for quite a while, actually, for the better part.
Best team in baseball.
Best team in baseball for the last part of the season. I don't think we can ever take that for granted. I know you can't. They've been great. As much as we bragged about the Padres, how good they were towards the end of the season, the Mets were even better. So they're like you said, the best team in baseball the last part of the year. And it's not a fluke. As we mentioned before, Case, you don't get to this point on flukes. They're a good team. They're well managed, and they're playing very well, and they're confident. And you're playing in a hotbed tonight at Citi Field, so it's great for the Mets fans and players. But Dodgers have been this way before. There's nothing new here. They were in a rabid. It's the way it is in the playoffs. It's going to be that way forever, and it's always been that way except 2020 when you're playing at an empty stadium. But otherwise, you always got this. The Dodgers have veteran players who've had this. Been in these environments. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great series.
Another amazing aspect of this game that just to chew on that I'm looking at that's interesting to me, both teams have proven to be maybe the 2 most resilient teams in the league. The Dodgers have answered the bell, even though they basically did go coast to coast, pretty much coast to coast with the lead in the NL West. It's been one turbulent time after the other the Dodgers have had to recover from, including the last series against the Padres. We know how resilient the Mets have been, so I think that's another interesting aspect of this too.
Yeah, both of these teams, you're never going to be out of it. When it's 9-0 the other night, okay, maybe you are, but for the most part, you're never going to feel like either team's going to feel like they're out of it. And the
either a game or the series.
A game or the series. You can't ever feel like you're that you're out of a game, out of an inning. Because they've been so resilient, have proven over and over again they can overcome whatever. And like I said, everybody thought that – not everybody. A lot of people thought the Dodgers were dead last series when they got down 2-1 and got smoked in Game 3. And then they come back and did what they did. So there's no doubt both these teams know how to come back. They know how to deal with adversity. They're not going to be intimidated by anything they see. Even if they get down early, the Dodgers and the Mets have both proven that they're able to come back from that. Mets have actually, from what I was listening to the other night on the radio on my drive home from school – they're better against bullpens than our starting pitcher. That's that's amazing. That's an amazing stat they were talking about.
They haven't faced the Dodgers bullpen, though.
No, exactly. We're also talking about a great bullpen, but they've had more success against bullpen. Now, they did it against the Phillies. They But the Phillies bullpen isn't as good as the Dodgers either. But they hit their top line guys and came back and did things against them. So neither team's intimidated by anything, and that's where it should be. Let's go, best man up.
Going to be 62 degrees tonight at 10 p.m. in New York, so weather will not play a factor. I think that helps Los Angeles.
Yeah, no doubt, because like I said, Kate, you never know. I mean, we had a freeze warning here in the central part of Oklahoma last night, after burning up, a week or so ago in the 90s, 95, the last OSU football game.
I'll take 90s.
Yes, I'm like you. I'll take that over that too. So you never know what the weather's going to do out there, especially on the East Coast. But that's great. 62 start, probably going to be in the 50s when the game's over. Beautiful for baseball in the Big Apple, and that's where it should be. This seems like playoff baseball. You're on the East Coast, West Coast. I mean, I know there's a lot of great programs in between, mainly the St. Louis Cardinals that has the history, but it gets pretty cold in St. Louis at times too. But you expect to have some cool weather. 62 is awesome. That's a beautiful day in New York City. Yeah,
absolutely. It means it can be very similar to how Los Angeles feels whenever that marine layer comes down. Hey, going to cry over some spilt milk early on in this show. Okay. Then we're going to move on to tonight's game. I said it at the time, and this is totally excuse-making. This is me throwing a temper tantrum as a Dodgers fan. But the dadgum day game after night game, after we had just smoked New York, and to me it's just harder for the winning team to recover that type of adrenaline and excitement than it is for the losing team, because there's so much motivation for that losing team. I'm still pissed about the day game after night game.
In case it's the only one in the series. I haven't looked at the other series. It may be the only game. It may be the only day game, the whole stinking thing. I know it's the only day game schedule in this series. I don't get it when you still got – I know it's a long trip, blah, blah, blah. I'm not floating on the airplane. These guys do it all the time. They do it all the freaking time. And you got an off day the next day.
Yes.
Go ahead and play this stinking game. They're going to fly that night. And they're going to have the next day off on the south there. I mean, they're going to leave as soon as the game's over.
I know it would have competed with NFL football and the ALCS game, but I don't care. Winning to the Dodgers and these organizations should mean more than a TV slot, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I love NFL football, but whatever. Hey, fans got to choose. Sorry, that's what it's going to be. They're not worried about it from this point on. There's no more day games. So
it's capitalism, right?
It's not that big a deal from now on, because they're all night games from what I looked ahead on this series, and I'm assuming the others are pretty much the same way too. Well, don't have the two games going on the same time if that's that big a deal to you. Let's don't have two baseball, which they want. They'll try to arrange that. But anyway.
And I'm whining. I know I'm whining. This is total whine on my part. That's fine. Yeah. I'm kind of getting my negative emotions out here. And that's exactly what this show is, right? Yep. I get that. That's a total whine. Both teams had to play under the same conditions.
Gotcha.
That's nothing against the Mets. It still rubs me the wrong way that the day game after the night game does too. Because, gosh dang it, Coach, if the Dodgers could have won game 2, you just would have put just a death nail on this series.
No, there's no doubt about it. You go 2-0 and, worst case scenario, you're coming back home, you're going to finish in L.A. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That would have been great. Before I even got out of the school parking lot, I'm only 20 minutes from home. It's already 6-0. I was like, crap, man, I guess I'll just drive slowly now and kind of listen. I turn the radio on, turn on my ESPN radio and listen. And by the way, I don't even remember who the guys were doing. They did a very good job on the ESPN radio. It was great. I don't ever listen to it because I'm watching on TV, but they did a really good job with the ball game. I don't even know who it was. Don't care. But yeah, 6-0. Then they had an opportunity. You still, the same like we talked about just a minute ago. I really felt like they got back into it. They had a lot of chances, Case. A lot of chances. Yeah. We had them loaded. We get one run out of the loaded, bases loaded, and had, I don't know how many, we had a couple other things we had 2 runs on. I don't know exact. But they left 10 on base. I think the Mets did too, but the Dodgers had 10 on base with some guys that they could do some damages. It just didn't happen.
It didn't. I think probably the last time the Dodgers really made a significant run at that game where I felt like, okay, well, there's still a chance there in the 7th inning, Tommy Edman gets the base hit, the 2-out base hit to score the 2 runs. So I heard you say this a million times whenever we're trailing. Hey, guys, let's cut the lead in half.
Yep.
Let's cut it in half. Let's cut a 6-run lead to 3. Let's cut a 2-run lead to 1. Let's cut the thing in half. That's literally a saying you'll hear in baseball just over and over and over, right? Well, guess what the Dodgers did? They exactly cut the lead in half with that base hit by Tommy Edman. It was 6-3. Then you get into a little bit of pickle in the top of the 7th inning. Brent Honeywell gets the 2 strikeouts Dodger Stadium's going nuts, and I'm thinking, hey, we just turned the lineup over, baby. It's game on. And then dadgummit, if Mookie Betts doesn't strike out, you get 2 strikeouts for the Dodgers to end the inning. Right then you're like, it kind of felt like that game came and went right there.
Yeah, and we'll go right back to it. We talked about how this is, looking at it on paper from outside. The bottom of the order was great. I think Edmund had 3 hits. I think Tommy was 3 for 4, and I think we had most of the hits down the bottom. The top 5 are 0 for 19, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So it is what it is, Case. We can't do this smoke and mirrors. We're not loaded at the starting pitching area.
Right.
Our bullpen's been great. How long can you depend on those guys? We're not loaded starting pitching. I'm sorry, our dude's got to perform. It's no earth-shattering news there. Everybody knows exactly. They know it. I'm not saying anything, you're not about being negative towards anybody. The dudes have got to man up. They got to perform. Now, on the other hand, the other team knows that too. They're pitching around them, or they're making great pitches to them. So there's nothing easy. That's the way it should be. But again, if the Dodgers are going to have success tonight, I'm not even worried about winning at all.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal. Tonight, the big guys have got to come through. They don't have to get 3 or 4 hits a game. I'm not talking about that. When you get an opportunity, you got to do it. And Shohei's a great example. 0 for 19 with nobody on base. And it's like 6 for 8 with runners on in this series. He's still hitting him leadoff. So whatever the case may be, the bottom order did a good job the other night. But it seemed like he leads off way too many innings.
Mm-hmm.
That's me being a whining Dodger fan.
Yeah, no doubt. We're getting a little bit of our wine. We need some cheese with our wine. Okay. We understand that.
Okay, we didn't get a chance to wine the other night after me and Austin didn't get a chance.
Yeah, right. We got to get our pouting out of the way so we can get past it and get our big boy boots on and move on to tonight's game. We'll get past it here in a minute. I've got a couple more bones to pick though with this game. I think we said in Game 4 of the series with San Diego, brilliant move to go bullpen game. Everybody executed. The reason why you can't do that in Game 2 is because it's a 7-game series, and the last thing you can afford is to completely run out of gas like in Game 6, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be at least a small amount of big picture decision-making in a 7-game series when you are so limited from the pitching staff-wise. So although Landon Knack did not come out and have a good performance, it did not work. You didn't get the death grip. You still have to win 1 game out of the 3 games in New York, even to make it back to L.A. I can't really argue the fact that they did throw a bullpen game together. That they started Landon Knack instead of a bullpen game.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. I mean, you got to do something. And we lost Vesia. There's a lot of moving parts here. It's not the exact same as it was last time.
Right.
That you'd use some guys. We used some guys the night before that had been a part of that. So it wasn't going to be exactly the same formula as we had before. But, like we said before, Did
you want a bullpen game, or were you okay with what they did?
I'd rather just have a bullpen game, but in all reality, Landon's probably part of the bullpen right here. He's your 4th starter, if you go that deep. So he to me, it's kind of he's considered a bullpener. He wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have used him in that role there. But get back on some positive. Honeywell, my man wearing his blue dickie out there. Dylan brought some emotion, he did well. So there's a lot of things that showed up. Who knows? We know he's not one of the top line guys, but David have got to feel a lot better if we have to bring him in. He ain't intimidated by the situation. The Dodgers are still in the game when he was in there.
Sure.
We'd cut it in half. He has to throw zeros up or we have no shot, and he does it. So that's a great sign for the Dodgers. And kudos to him, Honeywell. Great job.
So do you walk Shohei to get to Mookie? So my point is you walk Francisco Lindor, who's one of the 2 biggest dudes for the Mets, right? Yep. You got Lindor and you got Alonso. Those are the 2 guys, the 2 headliners for the most part. But Mark Vientos has actually been by far their best hitter in the postseason. I think Lindor's hitting like 235, right? But then you're playing the right on right matchup versus the right on left, all that. So do you like walking one of their best headliners to get to their hottest hitter?
Let me ask you this, Case. If he hadn't hit a home run the first inning, would we have walked him?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think we would have. He's a great player. He's an MVP candidate. I love the guy. He's a great player. He's a great baseball player. He was in the 220s before that game.
Yes.
First inning, there goes this, whatever. He hits a home run because he's a great player. We made the pitch. He got a good pitch to hit. So what? Like you said, Vientos has been the hottest guy.
Yes.
And Vientos has big time power. He don't have to just he cannot really square one up and still get out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And he's hit. I'll look right. He's hit 378. But he's been over 400 for most of the time in the playoffs. I felt like they walked because he homered the first time we walked him. Again, that sounds too simple. But
or do you think that was a right on right thing? I don't know what to do here, so I'm just going to play the analytics and go right on right.
Could have been either one. I don't know. Could have been either one, but again, the same old thing. Like we said before, you back a decision, whatever. You make a decision. If he gets Vientos to ground out right there, it's a great move. Turns out it didn't ground out. It turned into hell, and and now you look like an idiot. Hell's on fire again. And the guy, their hottest hitter, got a chance to hit a grand slam, and he just did it. So
he did.
It is what it is. But like I said, I'm not ready to crucify Dave over it. There's a reason. I hope it wasn't as simple as the guy homered in the first. We got to walk. Mm-hmm. No, it can't be that. I think it's more what you said. I think it's more playing percentage.
Yeah, and bottom line is too, though. I mean, if you look at the strikes that Landon Ack threw, what makes him good when he is good is that he hits strikes on the periphery with 4 different pitches. Just way too many hittable pitches the other night. I mean, too many of them that just caught the middle of the plate.
Yeah, there wasn't any doubt about it. Those are way hittable. The first time we saw him in the playoffs, he's got a formula he has to go by. All pitchers do.
He does.
There's all pitchers have I've got to land this. Even Yamamoto, we talked about he has to land certain pitches or he's not going to be effective. Landon's the same way. And yes, Case, they were very hittable, and it's almost like even sitting there watching on TV, he throws that you kind of cringe, and then something bad happens, and it did. So most of the time, so but you got to do what you got to do there, and it was ugly. The first 2 innings were pretty ugly.
If you needed more verification as to why, I think there's probably a lot of people in this boat that were complaining about the Dodgers choosing a bullpen game in Game 4 over a normal starter, that were probably also complaining the other night that they went with a bullpen game instead of a normal starter. So I think what you saw there is why the Dodgers believe so much in what we call the trust tree. Hey, I believe in what I've seen a guy do it before. Like the Dodgers believe in Walker Buehler because they've seen him do it before, right? Tonight started Luis Severino. The Mets are going to believe in him because they don't care what his stats have been this year. They have seen him in the postseason time after time after time. I think that's why you see that in these moments. Sometimes you don't necessarily play all the odds. You just go, you know what? I don't care. I trust this guy. I've seen him do this in this situation before, and so this is the guy I'm going with.
It's the same thing the Dodgers do with Kike. They wanted him. I mean, he's a playoff guy. He's a proven playoff performer, successful playoff performer. You got that confidence in him. You're going to roll with him. Same type deal. I agree with you on that. The way it turned out, the bullpen game. That's the downside of the bullpen game. What we saw, because you have a 6 in the first 2 innings. So then it goes to hell. And why the hell we do it? I even seen the game the Dodgers. I remember which game it was. Probably against the Padres. Dodgers were way ahead. I saw social media people. Some people complaining why we didn't bring Tron and those guys in. I'm thinking, you don't need those guys right now. We were, but you don't say that. I know what they're saying. He's done good. Let's get him out there and trying it. Yeah, it makes sense if you look at it but if you're looking from the standpoint of the manager and coach, I don't need to bring my dude in. We're up 6-7 runs. So, but you're always going to get that second guessing no matter what you do. Even if you win it all, there's going to be people that hates Dave. So, it is what it is. Things blow up in his face and some of them don't.
The Dodgers are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They were trying to win Game 2, which to have your cake, and then they're also trying to not overtax their bullpen, which is also which is also eating your cake too. So they were trying to play both sides of the coin. They didn't get either.
And because it
happens. Sometimes it happens.
Well, they won Game 1. They were able to do it. If they had lost Game 1, you wouldn't have seen that. And that's correct. Thing. So they were.
That's the biggest point.
Yeah, they were 1-0. Felt good about it, and in recent history, it worked really well against a great hitting team. So it's not like we said several times, Case. It's not a great decision, but it is the right decision for the Dodgers, and we're probably going to see it again if this thing goes 7.
Yeah. Which is also another reason why they tried to sneak Landon Ack in, because if you need 2 different bullpen games, you want to keep people as fresh as you possibly can. Coach, I was reading today, Game 3 in Major League Baseball, the winner of Game 3, typically speaking, wins the series right at 70% of the time, man. You can't use the phrase must win. I learned this a long time ago. I was like a 23-year-old coach, and I was full of piss and vinegar, right? And I was like, guys, we got to win today. It's a must win, blah, blah, blah. And then we didn't win. And then I was thinking, well, what the hell do I tell my guys now?
We're done.
Right? So I was like, I'll never do that again. I'm never, ever saying must win again unless it's the last game of the year, right? So you can't ever say must win, but if you could say must win, this is one of them.
No, it's huge. I mean, like you said, the percentages you looked up there, and here's again, I'll go back to a positive from the loss the other day on the bullpen game last series against Padres. Honeywell wasn't even on the roster.
Yeah, right.
Now the way he performed for 3 innings, he just didn't have he's lucky he only had 1 inning. But if he performed for 3 innings, now Dave, we can use him if we have to go bullpen again. So, and they're still going to use Knack. You're still going to have to use him if you get in that bullpen situation. I'm assuming at some point, the last time they did, I think you used him the last inning. Of course, you had a big lead during that time. But at some point, you're just it's pulling strings. The old Godfather, the Godfather logo. The guy sitting there in the mirror and playing with all the puppets, all the strings.
Right.
It's what you do. Whether you're calling pitches, you're playing with those puppets. Pulling all those strings, hoping you pull the right strings.
Right.
Same way you're doing lineups. Same way you're doing pitching. Same way you're making pitching changes, lineup changes. And there's no guarantee of anything that's going to work. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it looks like hell, and you're the guy wearing it. So it's just the way it is.
And the fact that you had the day after, that's when you have your bullpen game. That's why they chose bullpen game in game 2 instead of game 3.
Yep.
Is that gives the bullpen an extra day to recover, to have full bullets for every other game moving on. So, Coach, hey, Walker Buehler, we said it. It's been a weird year from him, a struggle year coming back. He's had some pretty decent moments lately. Last outing was, I don't even know how to analyze that outing, right, because of the defense and all that. What do you expect from Walker Buehler?
Well, I mean, going off recent history cases, last one in the regular season, I felt like was way better than the time you watched him get lit up in Oklahoma City. I mean, guy's coming a long ways, obviously, from where he was. It's been a process for him. The great thing about him, he showed some bulldog in him that last time, especially. His regular season was good. Yeah, he had the 6-run inning. We're not going to rehash the whole stinking thing, but there was a couple of ground balls that we got nothing out of. So there's a lot of things that led to that. Tatis got him deep, but but then even after that, he was able to save bullpen time. Let's don't forget that part. He still went 5. So
he did. That was huge.
Yes, that was huge for your next day. Remember, this all works together. That was huge for the next day. Him going 5, even though we lost the game, still gave you a chance to have some guys ready, your bullets in your gun for the next 2 games, actually. So, he showed some bulldog in. I love a guy throwing a trash can in his helmet because I've done it 1,000 times. You've seen it a lot of times, but I did it just because I was a big whiny manager, coach, and full of piss and vinegar. But he did it because of frustration. Hey, yeah, I know this gave up 6, but, in his mind, I shouldn't even face Tatis in that situation.
Right, sure.
Whatever. But you did, and you gave up a home run, wear it like a man, and he did. Or you wouldn't have been able to come back out and go 2 more innings if he wasn't a man. So I trust him. I'm looking forward to watching him pitch tonight.
It reminds me of a defense in football that ends up giving up like 600 yards, but their offense only had the ball for 17 minutes because they couldn't get first downs. And you're like, well, damn, our defense gave up 642 yards. But then you realize, well, yeah, that's because they were on the field all day, right? That's how it felt like for Walker Buehler.
Yeah, exactly right. You just keep getting extended. That inning got a lot of extension to it for a lot of reasons. We all know what it was, but the longer it goes, the more if you're on the field a lot, it's like you said, Case, because back the heydays of Oklahoma State a few years ago, they had such a great defenses on the field a lot because they'd scored about 2 or 3 plays with Whedon and Justin Blackman, those cats. They're scoring in 2 or 3 plays with Holgerson over there pulling the strings and that sort of thing. So your defense never really got to rest, and they weren't that good to begin with. But, it is what it is. He got extended, had to throw, I've done it. You've done it. Come in and bitch and moan about it. We just, sometimes I'd sit there and start counting. We just made that guy throw 15 extra pitches because we couldn't catch a freaking pop.
Even if you don't give up a run, it still affects the game because it's extra pitches.
It's affected him now. It's affected what I got to do in my pen. It's going to affect tomorrow. And it just never ends. And that's the stuff that Dave and him and Mark Pryor and all those guys are dealing with. And you have to. And every team deals with that. Everything that's going on. That's why, especially down the playoffs, everything's even magnified, which is what it should be.
Yep. And you know why the Dodgers won Game 4 of the last series, Coach, in San Diego? You want to know why they won that game?
Yeah, because of what they did in Game 3. After
they got ahead.
6 innings, yeah,
they got ahead.
Yeah.
They got ahead, and they forced that San Diego crowd to sit on their hands and be absolutely no part of that game, right?
Yep.
So we always talk about the New York market, how they're just rabid fans. It's different. I've been to a Yankees game. You've been to a Yankees game. It's different. I'm just telling you. Those fans are different. It's a different level of intensity. So I think in these games in New York, it is absolutely imperative to do what you did in Game 4 and go out and get a 3 or 4 run lead. And then not just that, continue to extend like they did in that game to where there is not one single moment tonight where Mets fans feel like they have any momentum.
And we'll go right back to what I said earlier. If you're going to get a lead earlier, our cats are going to have to do something. Our big guys up top are going to have to do something. You can't. You're not going. You can still get down the bottom order, maybe the second time around and do something. But somewhere, in that cat,
at least don't strike out.
No,
you know, like that's when Mookie struck out. It was like, damn, dude, right? You know, that one of those deals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got to do something, even if they're just moving. Even just hit a ball hard to the right side and move a runner over. Hit a deep fly ball to right field to get a guy from second and third with no outs. That's doing something. They got to perform something there. And it's not going to happen if we don't. So no, I totally agree with you. Get ahead of early, take the crowd out.
I think it'll be interesting if the Dodgers do get a lead. Walker Buehler's pitching well. Walker Buehler feeds off of that type of when he feels, you know, like the world's against him and he's trying to prove 60,000 people in a whole stadium wrong. That's really something that his competitive nature feeds off of. So I'll just be interested to see if he's physically good enough. I know mentally good enough he will be.
Well, think about it, Case. This guy's been given up on all year. Not by Dave and Mark Pryor or me, but a lot of people's like, guy's done. Goes in Oklahoma City, he'll never come back. He'll never be the same. He's been questioned all year. You know, not by anybody.
He's questioned himself probably more than anybody has.
Exactly, not by anybody close to him. The Dodgers organization, they wouldn't have stuck with him if they felt that way. But outside noise, whatever have you, everything around you is like, this guy sucks. He's never going to be back. And he may not ever get back to exactly what he was. I'll tell you what, I'll take that cat anytime.
Yep.
Tear up a trash can every inning. I don't give a crap.
Yeah. Kind of funny story about Walker Buehler. Just kind of explain the competitive nature of him, which nobody needs to know if you're a Dodgers fan. But he's pitching for Rancho, right? And he gave up like 4 or 5 runs. Just a single A, right? And Rancho was winning the game. And after the game, I think he was talking to Doug McCain, D-Mac of Dodgers Nation. And serious as a heart attack, Buehler goes, yeah, I effed that one up, didn't I? It was like he was so pissed that he screwed up a Rancho Cucamonga game at the single A level. I'm like, that's why I love Walker Buehler right there.
Because he's accountable. He's accountable to himself, his team. He don't point fingers. He's going to get.
He points the finger right back at himself.
Back at him, and that's what the great ones do. I've got to be better. I've got to do better than that. Don't get me started on my Dallas Cowboy owner Jerry Jones the other day blaming everybody else. But anyway, it's the same type of crap. He took responsibility for that. And he's accountable to himself, his team, his organization, and he's going to do that all the time. That's why he's our guy, and that's why I got a lot of confidence in him.
It's going to be interesting if it comes the 5th inning and he's throwing well and he feels like he still has some in the tank and Dave wants to play analytics. That's going to be an interesting scene to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It goes back to feel. You know, I know Dave is analytics because they're probably the best in the business with analytics.
Walker's going to give him the what for, don't take my ass out. Dave's either going to stick to his guns or not. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And it will probably a talk. We'll see him they always show the manager going over to talk to the starting pitcher.
Sure.
Hey, he's getting ready he must be coming out.
Sure.
Maybe one of those, you ain't taking him out. What game, maybe in the San Diego series, Dave goes out the mound and he left him. That was Walker, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Dave went out there and came back to the dugout.
Had a glove over his hand. I can only imagine what he said. I ain't effing leaving. You can go back to the dugout.
I know what Walker said. Yeah, and you nailed it.
Yeah, I ain't effing leaving. Just go back to the dugout. And Dave's like, okay, and he heads back. That's another part of a great manager. You know, all your pitchers don't want to come out. You don't want to go to the mound, Case. You've done it, I've done it. I don't want to walk up to the mound with the guy hand me the ball before I get there. You're gutless, dude. I want the guy going, Coach, I'm all right. I get this next guy. That's what all the good ones do. All the great ones do. They don't want to come out. You know, you still got to make tough decisions. I'll go back to Tommy, tell him, Doug, I don't give a crap how good you feel. If you're getting out of here, I'll make the decisions here. But it's the same thing. You had that point, too. but he trusted him, and he needed to, and he had to at that point, and it worked out.
Yeah. And Gavin Lux is back tonight. I think that's a big aspect too, Coach. You get him back at second base. You get his offense at the bottom of the lineup. We've seen him been able to execute, get base hits, hit home runs. So, Walker Buehler supposedly healthy enough to play tonight. I think that's a big deal too.
No, it's big. The Dodgers, at this time, get about as healthy as they can be. Freddie is probably not going to ever be 100% here in the playoffs because he don't have a chance to get there. But the training staff's doing great things just to get him back out there. And he's got the mental toughness that he's going to play. He's not going to miss, and he's been doing pretty well on a bad wheel. If you be right, I mean, the top three, you might be doing better than all of them. As a whole, if you get right out, look at the Dodgers
consistently.
His batting, he's hitting. He's hitting 273 on a bad wheel. So in the playoffs, that's not bad.
Yeah, Will Smith. I've said it. I know I'm harping on this, but day game after night game, 3 games in a row in New York, man. Can he go all 3 games in a row?
Oh, man, it's going to be tough.
It's tough, isn't it?
Like I said, he's hitting 087 right now in the playoffs.
And that's a large reason why. I mean, it just is.
He's catching every pitch. He's calling every pitch, and there's no chance in there. That's why you wish at some point there'd been a chance to get Austin Barnes in there to rest him a little bit, but they couldn't do it. I mean, if you can get a big lead or what, vice versa, if you start getting your butt handed to you. I mean, I know they've done it with Freddie some. I would think, Dave, this is a longer series. I would think at some point he's going to try to get Barnes in there, and when he can, the right situation to get Will some rest.
Yeah. The showdown tonight is you have a loaded bullpen for the Dodgers. You have a loaded mentality of Walker Buehler, of which we're all expecting Walker Buehler to pitch very well. So, man, I'm just telling you, it is if you're Dave Roberts and you have this loaded bullpen that's been in such money in the playoffs, then you have a Walker Buehler who you're seeing with your own eyes is dealing. I'm just telling you that's going to be a really interesting decision. Christopher Navarro, we have a wonderful crowd logging in, Coach. Christopher Navarro says, I believe Buehler will pitch a good game tonight. Good evening, Cole. If any other teams face the injuries like the Dodgers, they would have folded their season. Injuries finally caught up with Atlanta.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They were shelling themselves, and everybody saw it. They were nowhere. That's a great testament to our players, not the ones right now, but the guys who had to fill in, the guys who come up from the minor leagues and filled in, the guys who had to step up and start. Lux had to hit 3-hole for a while. It's because he's hitting well, but it's also because some guys were injured. Mookie was out for part of the year. No, the resilience of this group. And again, from Dave Roberts on down, imagine his lineup card every day, the things he was going through. Imagine the conversations he's having with Mark Pryor and all the coaches in the office, as you put a lineup together and what your plans, what your game plan is for each game. It's been amazing that the Dodgers have been successful. Like we said, say what you want about the starting pitch. I mean, it is what it is. This team's good enough to win the World Series, and that's why they're where they are.
100%. Jay says versus the Padres, Walker couldn't put guys away. If he's not getting swing and miss, then probably not the third time through. I'll say this, it's hard to put the Padres away because they're so contact-oriented.
Yeah.
The Mets are a team that will strike out if you get ahead of them. They're easier to put away when you get to 2 strikes. So I think that's also kind of a cat and mouse game. How will Walker Buehler do if he does and when he does get ahead in the count?
Yeah, that's big. It's been big for him. You're right.
Can he put hitters away?
Yeah, that's a great point by our Dodger Dog right there or logging in. That's a great point. Yeah, if you can't put – how many times you get to 2 strikes and you can't put guys away? I'm like you, Case. I'll give credit to the Padres. They're that good offensively in my mind. Yes, he's had some trouble putting guys away, but Mets are way more swing and miss than the Padres were.
100%. So it's going to be a very interesting game tonight. Very exciting, Coach. We have a great crowd logging in here. Moose, thank you so much for joining. This team has a lot of postseason experience. Trust in that. So not just Walker Buehler, but the entire team has a lot of postseason experience. You got to like that. Although the last couple of years, I'm not sure how valuable bad playoff experience is, right?
Yeah, it hadn't been very pretty the last couple of years, but Freddie had some previously with Atlanta. Shohei hadn't had any just because of the team he's with, but he's had some in the World Baseball Classic with the greatest players in the world, all from different countries, played against each other. But no, and we talked about Kike's success in the playoffs. Mookie's been there with the Dodgers and the Red Sox. I mean, you just got guys up and down the lineup who have been there. The stage is never going to be too big.
Yeah.
It may not be what you want. It may not end up.
Well, if Game 4 wasn't too big for him, no stage will be too big.
That's what I'm saying. It's never going to get too big. Everybody's already putting dirt on you, man. They got the shovels ready to throw dirt on you in Game 4 in San Diego, and you just come out and whip their butt and throw a shutout, and then throw another shutout on top of that. So anything this team does positive is not going to surprise me. Negatively, things do happen. It happens to everybody because you're facing a good team on the other side. There's no giving. There's no guarantees on anything. It's baseball. Go to the next pitch and quit whining.
J. Pierre, thank you so much for joining. Makes a great point here. 2 of our losses have come based on one bad inning. You talk about the grand slam last game, the last time Walker pitched, about the big 6-run inning there.
Yep.
How do you stay away from the big inning, Coach? I say it all the time, and now that you know it, you're going to notice it more. The winning team, typically speaking, scores more runs in one inning than the losing team scores the whole game.
And that was kind of the series with the Padres series. I mean, the games the Padres won, they scored big early. The Dodgers scored some, big early. That was the nature of that series. And I did really look real close at the Mets series, the Phillies, but I'm pretty sure that was the same way. The teams are scoring in bunches, are the ones. I know they had a pretty low scoring series, but at times the Mets were able to come back and got big hits. I know, Alonso got a big homer, opposite field home run for him in the one game. And so, scoring in bunches because the pitching is so good. That's the thing. That boils down to the fact you're fortunate enough to get runners on and somebody got a base hit, got a base knock. Because the pitching's so good, you're not going to see very many games where somebody's scoring every freaking inning. It ain't happening.
We have a question here from Jay. If bulk innings are needed, who do you trust more, Landon Knack or Brent Honeywell? I love Landon Knack. I don't think he's ready necessarily to take a bulk inning type role in this scenario. I would go with Brent Honeywell just for one. He has the split finger or whatever he calls that, fork ball, whatever he's calling it. And then also, I just think the composure part of his major league experience gives him the nod there.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I'll go with Honeywell. I mean, just because he has some experience. Again, he's another guy's had to battle back for some things to get where he's at now. And I would go with Honeywell, no doubt. Especially it's easy when you go up and see what he did the last game. But even that, I mean, he's proved himself. Even in the regular season when he's out there, he had some good days he went out there. But, anybody wearing a freaking turtleneck and dealing, man, he's my guy.
Yeah. So if I were to say this, okay, if everything goes perfect, Buehler can have success, right? But if things don't go perfect, like you make a couple of errors, he can't overcome that. He's still not good enough to do that. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that's fair. That's what we saw that last time. I know the 6-run inning, he's not totally, innocent on that deal either. He got extended. He threw more pitches than he should have that inning. That's not his fault. But you still can get out of it. So I just say people talk about how you're like in football, your defense isn't very good, but you don't want to throw on the field all the time. My answer is get off the damn field.
Yeah, right.
Hey, go make a play and get off the stinking field. That's your damn fault. If people are running up down the field on you. Same thing here. I mean, it's an excuse. Hey, get off the field. Make a play.
Yep. Does there need to be a sense of urgency to end this thing in New York? I mean, if it gets back to Los Angeles, Game 7 is likely to either be Buehler or another bullpen game. So how much urgency does Dave need to manage this with? Or does he need to continue with kind of the model of Game 2 to where you hedge your bets to make sure you don't run out of pitching?
Yeah, I mean, well, since you lost that one, I think it's changed things. If it's 2-0,
right,
we know what the answer is going to be. But it's 1-1. You got your butt kicked in that second game. So, he's going to try to win at least 2 out of 3 in New York. Definitely got to win 1.
Yep, 100%. And tonight, Coach, what do you think the Dodgers need to do to win this game? What are your keys here? I know Walker Buehler obviously needs to pitch well, need to get on an early lead, all that. Who are your players to watch? What are you thinking might happen tonight? What are Coach Holt's keys?
Well, I mean, it's going to go back. They're very similar. You said Severino and Buehler. They're guys that can do
the
well.
Setups, yeah.
The setup. They're guys. Whichever one of those guys is on top of their game. But for the Dodgers, again, I'm going to go back to the same thing. the top of the order has to do some damage. Well, whatever it may be, I don't care if it's a single, if it's a hit and run, I don't care what the heck it is, not hit and run, but you never know. The top of the order is going to have to do. That's going to be the key to me for the Dodgers to continue to have success moving forward. And again, I don't ask them. They're not 3 for 4. Everyone will have to go 3 for 4. Go 1 for 4 if the one hit drives in 2 runs, or you go 2. You know what I'm saying? I still think it's going to come down. Honestly, I mean, we need to have Shohei do some damage.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't done much damage, and I'm sitting there. Well, that's a lot of pressure on him. Good Lord, dude, you got more money on the face of the earth to play. I get it. There's pressure that goes with that. There's pressure on your manager. He may get his butt fired. So the key for me tonight, I'm looking for some damage out of the top of the order, top 4 guys.
Why does it seem like, of course, I think this is everybody in baseball, but especially the Dodgers, if they score like 8 runs one game, it seems like they come out and just have a dud the next game, doesn't it?
Yeah. Again, this guy's the same, like we talked about. People all they got pitching. Most everybody's got a bullpen. Dodgers is better than most. But look at those cats are running out of the bullpen. I mean, every team's running those out there. Go to the freaking minor league games, Case. Me and you going over to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and everybody's coming out of the pen and throwing 100. Yeah. It might be a strike, it might not, but velocity is not a problem for anybody.
100% on that. And, hey, I always said it, I think the biggest key is Walker Buehler's got to hand the ball to the Dodgers bullpen with the Dodgers within 1 run of the game, maybe tied. Would be even better if they had the lead. I think he can definitely do that because I think Walker Buehler can, where he's at as a pitcher right now, the way that the things that he can execute, I think are things that can get the Mets out. I think he can use the bottom of the zone with his fastball to not get ambushed, to get strikes early in the count. And then I think his breaking ball, he can make it look like a strike, break it out of the zone, and get swing and miss. So I do think even in this incarnation of Walker Buehler, he has the right tools to attack this Mets lineup. Am I being too optimistic?
No, I think you're right there, because even in high school level case, we have started, you and I and everybody else that coaches, even on the high school, has started guys based on feel or fit. I know last year in state tournament we had a guy who's a fly ball pitcher. Well, we got a team that hits a lot of fly. It's like the wind's blowing straight in like it does in Oklahoma. We're at Norman North. It's blowing about 40 miles an hour straight in. That's our cat. He's throwing, and they're hitting 250-foot fly balls all night. So there's that fit deal. And I'm like you, the Buehler fits. There's a feel Dave has. There's a fit. I think he fits his team very well. You make a lot of decisions based off that. And I think they feel, again, it can all go to hell because on paper, me and you were talking about it, what they've talked about, if they wouldn't have named him as a starter tonight, you have a plan that can all go to hell in a heartbeat.
We have a question here. Who is your non-star player, pitcher, pick to click? Of course, when you have Teo Hernandez, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, you've got Max Muncy, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman. I mean, it's hard to find a non-star in the Dodgers lineup, right? And then Gavin Lux was one of the best prospects in all of baseball. So instead of saying non-star, I'll say a guy that hasn't been clicking as of late that I think the Dodgers need to have a big game tonight. I'm going to say Max Muncy has a big hit tonight.
I'd say so.
And then I'm going to hedge that by saying I think either he or Will Smith, maybe both, will play a big part in this game if the Dodgers win.
No, because those two guys have kind of been struggling. They're both hitting around the 200 mark or below. You can't really say Tommy Edman. He's 3 for 4 last game. I think he's hitting 330. So he's been performing in the playoffs. I agree with you. It's got to be Muncy or Will Smith be the ones that are like, hey, man, we needed it. That after the game, we're all saying, man, we needed it out of that guy.
Muncy, the thing about him, I know we have a question here. Why do you leave Muncy in the 4-hole? Because there's so many empty at-bats. There's so many runners left on base. You know as well as I do, Coach, though, that with guys that do damage like that, it's the odds. You have to leave him there because the 1 or 2 times that he does hit a home run, you need it to be in that spot. So I don't have a problem with them leaving Muncy in the 4-hole.
No. I mean, the age-old story Case, we made our lineups. Your best hitters at 3-hole, your run producers at 4-hole, your worst hitters at 8-hole. You got a guy that can turn the lineup over hitting 9-hole. That's old-school baseball. I don't even know if they do that crap anymore. Probably not, but I'm just saying that's why you always make your lineups. And, you got to have him there because he is a run producer. He's going to strike out, but that's baseball nowadays. Whether I like it or not, which I don't because I'm old, but whether I like it or not, they're not worried about the strikeouts. You got to be a run producer. But on that vein, hitting 200 isn't much of a run producer. So we need more out of. We love Max. He's very, very talented. He can turn around and drive in 3 or 4 runs a night, and nobody's going to be shocked.
He has 2 home runs, and neither one of them matter.
Yep.
He had one in a 10-run game and one in a 5-run game.
Yep.
That has to change. I just don't think – maybe. I mean, the Dodgers, they beat the Padres doing it, but unless Max and Will become factors in this lineup, 1 out of the 2 each game, I just don't see the Dodgers making it all the way to a World Series championship. One of those 2 or both of them have to figure things out.
Well, you're going to have Max hit 4, and Will's been moved down, I noticed, for tonight's lineup.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. But the reason being, for the Dodgers to get where they are now, those guys have been, even though Max was hurt for a long time in the outs, Will was great for a long time offensively. He's an all-star catcher and blah, blah, blah. So he was a big part of this lineup for most of the year. And, we talked about how we've documented how he got rest, there, and he was able to come back and was swinging it better. But I think the way the lineup's set, I mean, you also got him hit down low. I think he's hitting 8-hole. I have the lineup in front of him. I know they moved him down. So, a guy can do some damage down there. I mean, he's very capable of doing that. But Max, I agree with you. Where else do you hit him if you don't hit him 4-hole?
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's not. You don't want him at 9. He's not your work. You're not going to be at 8. He's 4 or 5 or 6. I mean, he goes anywhere from 4 to 7. Get right down to it. But Teoscar's the same way. Teoscar can go anywhere from 4 to 7. I mean, you got those guys that are run producers, going to hit home runs and going to drive guys in.
Yeah, and I'm cheating Max a little bit. Don't forget, his biggest bat of the postseason, he hit about 17 miles an hour and dumped it into center field, right? That was fun to watch.
Huge hit. It looks like, as we used to say, it's a base hit and a box score. It doesn't have to look pretty. Just get it out there. Throw a little parachute out there in right field, right over the first baseman's head. Looks like a line drive in the box score. That's what we always say.
It absolutely sure does, Coach. Tommy Edman, what a pickup he's been, right?
Yeah, great. Of course, we love him as a coach's son, and he's just a ball player. The reason why the Dodgers have coveted him for a long time. He fits the mold. He fits the culture, what have you, whatever you want to call it. He's our guy there, and the great thing about him, he's performed very well there.
I'll tell you another thing that I think should bring Dodgers fans the chance for some optimism with Walker Buehler. His issue's been executing over and over and over and over, right? He just is coming off 2 Tommy John, still doesn't quite have enough feel of everything to be like perfect with his execution throughout the consistency of an entire game, right? Well, so I think like a Padres lineup, it's going to be tough for him because, I mean, if you make a mistake in 9-hole, 7-hole, 8-hole, it doesn't matter. They can all hit, right? I think this Mets lineup is more top-heavy. So I think once you get past the first 4, maybe 5 hitters, depending on if a hitter's hot that day or not, I think there are maybe almost half the lineup to where he doesn't have to be just super perfect to get outs. And I think that may help Walker Buehler extend a little bit.
No, there's no doubt about it. I think he fits just, again, go back to what I said a minute ago, he fits the lineup a lot better where he won't be extended, I don't think. I mean, he can make some mistakes down the zone and won't get hurt as bad as he could against Padres. And I like the idea the way he's pitched the last 2 times he's been out. You know what he's going to get from him. I bet he's knocking down the walls. Couldn't wait for this game to start tonight, and that's what you want.
We have a question here. Is Walker Buehler's curveball his best pitch? I would say the low fastball and then his cutter are his best 2 pitches, or the most important pitches. And I say that because I think his low fastball is what gets him his early strikes without getting ambushed. I think that cutter is what gets him his soft contact.
Yeah, and I think that's even going to work. Like we said, it's going to work even better against the Mets. We keep forgetting when he was at his best and healthy, he was a great pitcher. He was an outstanding pitcher. Even if he doesn't get back to that level, that's why the Dodgers haven't given up on him. Even if he doesn't quite get back to that level, he's got a chance of being a quality major league starter for a while now if he stays healthy. So the arsenal he brings, like I said, having trouble getting some guys out with 2 strikes, but I think I'm like you. I think that the Mets will give us an opportunity to get themselves out.
Coach, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to do a post game. If you want to hop on, have at it. We're on fall break, so
okay.
I don't have school tomorrow, so I'm going to stay up and pound out a post game after this. You're welcome to come on if you'd like to. But hey, this has been a lot of fun. We've had just another one of these just incredible crowds. I can't thank you, Dodgers Dogs, enough for all of the great support that you guys have given us. This has been simply fantastic. I mean, we started this from the ground floor, and we've continued to build thanks to all of you guys. So thank you so much for that. I can't thank you enough. But Coach Holt, hey, final thoughts here and keys to the game. Anything you want to talk about before we get off of here?
I'll echo what you said again, Case. We can't do it without those Dodger Dog fans getting on there. As we say, the best fans in the world for the best organization in Major League Baseball. I'm excited about tonight. Final thoughts. Buehler gives us a quality start and we get some damage out of the top of the order, top four. I think we're going to be in good shape.
I think Buehler needs to throw his fastball the bottom part of the zone. He needs to throw that cutter for soft contact. And then whenever he gets ahead in 2-strike, makes that curveball look like a strike, break it out of the zone, get swing and miss, and give up no hits to 6 through 9 in the lineup for the Mets. I think if he does that, even if he gives up a little bit of damage at the front of that, I think the Dodgers can cover that offensively. And I say it for the Dodgers offense at all times, you know, your top of your lineup, the dudes have to be dudes, right? The middle of your lineup between, I know Will's not in the middle, but I consider Teo, Max, and Will the middle of your lineup. One of those guys needs to have an impactful at bat tonight. That brings in RBIs. And then the bottom of your lineup, which I consider to be Kike, Gavin, and Tommy Edman, one of those guys have to execute, right? So dudes have to be dudes. Your middle lineup, you have to have one impactful at bat. Dudes at the bottom have to execute. You think that's a good formula?
Perfect formula. And if it goes exactly what you just said, we're going to have a happy post-game show. So, yeah, send me a link, and if I don't doze off in my chair, I'll get right on there with you guys.
Coach, thanks a lot. And to all of you Dodgers fans, all you Dodgers Dogs fans out there, I can't thank you enough for tuning in. Going to be super exciting. We're a little bit over an hour away from the Dodgers and Mets Game 3, a huge game. Really need to win Game 3, so thanks so much for tuning in. It's a great day to be a Dodger. Go Dodgers.